All right, let's talk about something huge today. How do you actually stay relevant when AI is changing everything? You hear it all the time, right? Learn this new skill, learn that new program. But what if that's totally the wrong way to think about it? Let's dive in.
Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. We're all in this race, right? Chasing the next big skill, hoping that if we just mastered one more thing, we'll have this unbeatable edge. But what if the real key to future-proofing your career isn't a skill at all? What if it's something way deeper, something a machine just can't copy?
This really breaks it down perfectly. Over here, you've got these skills that, let's be honest, have an expiration date. Think about a specific software you had to learn 5 years ago, or a coding language that's not so hot anymore. But then, on the other side, you've got this enduring intelligence. This is about being adaptable, about being able to connect the dots between different areas. And that's where the real long-term value is. Okay, so let's get right into it and tear down this idea that just collecting more skills is the answer. We're going to call this the skills myth. You know, for generations, the playbook was simple. You picked your lane, maybe you were an accountant, maybe an engineer, and you just went deep. You learned everything there was to know about that one thing, and that was your career for decades. Deep, specialized expertise was the name of the game. Well, newsflash, that world is pretty much gone. And here's the big reason why. An AI can now learn and copy specialized knowledge way, way faster than any of us can. I mean, skills that take us months, even years to learn, they can be automated in a snap. Now, the point isn't that knowledge is worthless. Of course not. It's that knowledge alone, without the ability to adapt, is, well, it's temporary.
So, if just piling on more and more niche skills isn't the solution, then what is? Let's talk about the real future-proof alternative. The answer is something called transferable intelligence. And really, it's not just about the facts you have stored in your head. It's about your ability to connect those facts in new ways. It's like being a mental DJ, mixing tracks from different genres. You see a pattern in biology and suddenly realize it solves a business problem you've been stuck on. Or you take a core idea from physics and use it to make better decisions in your life. It's all about the connections.
And hey, this is not some brand new futuristic idea. Let's go way back. Look at Leonardo da Vinci. We all think of him as the guy who painted the Mona Lisa, right? But his real genius, it was connecting things that nobody else thought to connect. He studied human anatomy, and that's what made his paintings so incredibly lifelike. His ideas about engineering actually shaped how he approached his art. He was the original cross-domain thinker. Or how about Benjamin Franklin? The guy wasn't just a politician. He started as a printer, which gave him this incredible, deep understanding of how to communicate with the masses. And you better believe he used that in his political career. His love for science, that shaped how he approached diplomacy. He was a total master at transferring ideas from one field to another. And look, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. Think about someone like Elon Musk today. He's not just a business guy. He's taking fundamental principles from physics and applying them to building rockets. Then he's blending that with cutting-edge software design, and he's wrapping the whole thing up in a really sharp understanding of economics. That's transferable intelligence, live and in action right now. All right, so hopefully we're all on the same page about what this is and why it's so important. But the big question is, how do you actually get it? How do you build it for yourself? Let's get practical. So here's a 4-step framework that some of the greatest thinkers and learners have used forever. And just a heads up, these aren't little life hacks. These are real, powerful ways to basically retrain your brain. Let's break them down one by one. First up, we have something called meta-learning, which is really just a fancy way of saying learning how to learn. So instead of just, passively soaking up information like a sponge, you actively question it. You ask yourself things like, okay, but how does this really work under the hood? Or, where else could I use this idea? The goal isn't to be a fact collector, it's to be a pattern hunter. Step 2 is all about building mental models. The legendary investor Charlie Munger has this great phrase for it. He calls it building a latticework of mental models. See, facts can get outdated or you forget them, but models, these are like simplified blueprints for how the world works. They last. Think about fundamental concepts like supply and demand in economics or natural selection in biology. Once you have a whole toolkit of these core ideas from different fields, you can pretty much tackle any problem that comes your way. Okay, step 3, adaptive problem solving. This is where the rubber really meets the road, where you test if you actually get it. The physicist Richard Feynman had that famous line, right? If you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. So force yourself to explain a complex idea to someone else, maybe using a story or an analogy. When you do that, you're building cognitive flexibility. You're literally training your brain to see the same problem from different angles. And finally, the fourth step, iterate, don't just accumulate. I love this one. So many of us treat knowledge like we're collecting stamps, just trying to get as many as possible and put them in a book. But the best learners, they see it as a cycle. It's a process. You learn something, you go out and apply it, you reflect on what happened, and then you adapt your approach over and over again. And in this way of thinking, a mistake isn't a failure. It's just valuable feedback. So, you start doing this. You're building this kind of intelligence. What's the payoff? What's your advantage? Well, this is where we get to your real edge over AI. Look, let's be real. An AI is always going to be faster at processing raw data than you are. We're not winning that race. But what AI really struggles with are the things that make us human. Drawing a crazy, unexpected connection between two totally different fields. Using your gut instinct that comes from years of actual life experience. Making a tough judgment call when there's no clear right answer. That's our territory. And transferable intelligence is what sharpens those uniquely human skills. So the goal isn't to try and compete with the machine at its own game. You can't outcalculate a calculator. The goal is to use your intelligence to guide the machine. Think of yourself as the conductor of an orchestra. The AI might be an incredibly powerful instrument, but you're the one leading it, telling it what to play. You work with it, not against it. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. As you go about your week, just ask yourself this one question. Am I just collecting information, or am I training my mind to connect it? Because in the world we're living in, a world that's always changing, the specific facts might fade, but the ability to connect them, that's forever.